So there is a new bill that has now officially just been released that's currently priced at around $858 billion. And what's really cool about this brand new stimulus bill is that there's actually a lot of policies inside that are meant to really impact our economy in general. Now, what is really, really cool also is that there are certain things that might now involve putting money inside of our pockets, which I think is the thing that we care the most about. But there's also a lot of things, interestingly, that have to do with just the general lifestyle of our country in terms of policies that might impact that area. If this sounds a little bit confusing, the big idea is that in today's video, what I really want to talk about is just the details related to what's inside this bill, the significance. There are some things that hopefully you guys can agree with. There are some things that maybe you guys do not necessarily agree with. So it'd be great maybe by the end of this video to comment what you guys think about this current bill that was just approved now officially inside of Congress and is expected to be approved on President Biden's desk sometimes in the near future, or maybe it's already approved by the time you are watching this. So let's just get right to it. But as always, real fast before we begin, if you guys enjoy videos like this, to share some support, remember to smash the like button, or you can watch to the end to decide. Consider subscribing and hitting the bell. And as always, feel free to comment any questions, maybe personal thoughts about what you think about this bill by the end, because it is always great to hear from you guys. So with that being said, let's get this video started. So we're going to run through all of the different parts in no particular order, but the first part that we're really going to talk about is that they're also going to be potentially trying to increase the amount of pay for people inside of the military, and also for select people that might not necessarily be in the military, but also happen to do work related to that. So we're going to talk a little bit about that in a little bit. But the big idea is that they're going to be bumping the pay for anyone that happens to be in the military for service members by about 4.6%. This is the largest pay bump that they've actually achieved in probably about the last approximately 20 years inside of just the history of our country. What's really cool about this is that it's not just that military people and, all the soldiers and everyone's going to be getting a pay raise as well. But interestingly, there's also going to be a lot of civilians that might work in a certain area related to the military, even if they are not directly in the military. So what are examples of this? Could be, for example, like a lot of politicians. There are a lot of politicians that maybe work in the Department of Defense. So while they are not necessarily in the military per se, they will also be able to experience a large pay bump as well, which means that a lot of those people, if you happen to be someone that's in the military, you're a veteran, you're doing anything that involves money in that world, you will potentially now be able to receive more money. And I think that's one of the really, really great news and cool things about this. They did say that housing allowances are going to go up by 2%, and additionally, they're going to be reimbursing a lot of childcare costs for a lot of people that might be in the military with children. They're also going to provide about $4,000 of pet relocation. So what this exactly means is that there are a lot of people that happen to be in the military that maybe have to frequently travel, they have to relocate, they have to move from place to place. And so what they're also going to do is provide money in order to help with a lot of this stuff that is related. So for example, if you have to travel and then, let's say you have increased costs now for children, for pets, for living expenses, they're going to give you money in order to be able to cover that. Basically, the bottom line more or less is that if you're someone that's working one of those jobs, especially a lot of the government jobs, you are going to be able to get a pay raise. And I think that's one of the really, really cool things now that involves, again, as mentioned, more money inside of our pockets. Now, the next couple policies that we have are really related to foreign affairs, but they are still very important, I think, to really just get out there, because at the end of the day, a lot of the stuff that happens there also influences our economy. So, for example, the first part is that they're also going to now be sending more money to Ukraine. Interestingly, Ukraine is going to be able to receive now about $800 million in order to fund their military, the effort with everything related to the war that's going on right there with Russia, Ukraine, and everything in that particular world. That's really the straightforward answer. There is also, interestingly, a lot of money that they're going to potentially, and we're going to explain a little bit of the difference between these two policies, but in Ukraine, what's really going on is that they have a set of money that they're going to officially now send them to help them with things related to the war effort. So, for example, like weapons, security, defense, travel, healthcare, everything in that particular world. There is also, interestingly, money that they're going to potentially allocate to give to Taiwan. And I think this is the part that not a lot of people are talking about. Essentially, what this is that right now at this current time, Taiwan and China are not necessarily in war, but there is a lot of fear that someday they might enter into war. So the side of Taiwan, what's really interesting is that the US has apparently, well, as supposedly what's going on now, is that they've allocated a certain amount of money that they're going to provide to Taiwan if, the keyword is if, they end up entering into war with China. But if everything ends up being safe, if let's say they never end up going to war, then that money pretty much sits there. The biggest difference is that because Ukraine is already physically in war, they're going to be getting the money. Whereas in Taiwan, what's going on is that they have money that's basically acting as almost like a security deposit, almost like an insurance / security deposit, where they're not going to necessarily give money to Taiwan now, but if something were to happen, they have money that they're going to potentially give them. And what this is really as a way to kind of support their war efforts or potential war efforts against China because of the current foreign affairs and everything that's happening inside of our world. So not just our country now, but our world in that particular world. And then the last policy that's going to be inside of this bill, before we talk about the significance, so definitely stay around for that, about what this actually means for us, is that they're also going to be ending the vaccine mandates for people that happen to be in the military. So how this relates to this is that because before this policy is going to go through, there is actually a vaccine mandate where a lot of people fell out of the military. So a lot of people that were in the military had to actually exit the military because they didn't want to fulfill the vaccine requirement and the mandates that are involved in our country. So what this policy is going to do is that by enacting this new policy that's going on, is that they're going to now officially remove the vaccine mandate, so people that were dropped from the military can now officially rejoin the military. What's really cool about this is that it's also going to potentially be a financial money saver, because it means that they don't have to pay for things now related to the vaccine mandates, which means that in a way they also are going to be saving money in that particular area. So it's going to help them potentially financially so that they can now use that money to fund a lot of other programs. And I think that's one of the parts that is maybe not necessarily fully related to money, although that is true as just mentioned, but it is definitely something that's going to potentially impact our lifestyle. And I think that that's one of the things that's still very, very important to address, because there's still so much more, as important as money really is, there's also a lot of things that will impact our lifestyle that goes even beyond financial gains and everything that we, enjoy talking about, or just certainly talk about, because some stuff is a little bit not easy to talk about, but it's still important to do so. But in terms of the significance about what this exactly means for us is that the big idea is that it means that they've officially just approved more money that is now going to be coming inside of our country. And while they are not necessarily doing immediate stimulus checks per se, sadly, they don't have any kind of general stimulus checks, there are still programs that are going to fund things such as like increased pay, increased wages, certain social programs related to the military and everything in that particular world, which means that there are going to be select millions of people in our country that are going to be indirectly, in that sense, receiving more money, which I think is the really, really cool news. Now, beyond that is that one thing that's really important is that as we head into 2023, there are going to be a lot of plans related to the war currently right now in Ukraine and Russia. There are going to be plans to prevent wars in other countries. So, for example, like with Taiwan and China, we don't know what's going to happen. Feel free to comment down your particular opinions about whether you support this bill, whether you don't support this bill, or maybe you support part of this bill. Maybe there's some areas you do support and some areas you don't necessarily support. It is always great to hear from you guys. But the big idea is that beyond this is that President Biden is going to be meeting with a lot of other military and other big key political figures. They're going to be talking about their plans going forward from here, and we just have to hope for the best to see what they actually ultimately end up deciding to do with the money that has now officially been approved, and what other plans they end up going forward from here. So with that being said, that's pretty much what I really just wanted to cover in today's video. So if you guys enjoyed that, maybe consider smashing the like button if you guys haven't done so, or feel free to leave a comment, suggestions for improvements if anything. Consider subscribing and hitting the bell. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, stay safe, stay well, happy holidays, and hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much again.